Good evening and welcome to the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission special meeting of May. Today is the 7th. This says the 5th. Okay. Thank you. Eric, let's go ahead and start with item number 1.
Item 1, regular business agenda. Item 1A, roll call. Commissioner Merabian?
Yes.
Commissioner Sulayan? Commissioner Weissman?
Here.
Commissioner Welch?
Here.
Chairperson Sahakian?
Present. Next item, please.
Item 1B, flag salute. Chairperson Sahakian.
Thank you. Please stand up. Put your hand over your heart. Recite with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 2, posting of agenda. The agenda for the Wednesday, May 7th, 2008 special meeting of the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission was posted by Tuesday, May 6, 2008 before 5:30 p.m. on the bulletin board outside of City Hall.
Thank you. Mr. Bagdanian, do we have a small presentation on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. First, I'd like to apologize as far as any inconvenience this rescheduling of the meeting may have caused for you. Appreciate your flexibility. We had a technicality as far as posting of the agenda, so that got resolved. So we're here tonight to address this issue. So, and also apologize to the residents or anybody who was planning to attend this on this issue. At the last Transportation Parking Commission meeting, essentially the Commission approved, based on the number of improvements that was recommended in the staff report, to allow left turns out of the driveway, remove the barriers, the concrete wheel stops that we have in the center line, and the delineators. The issue
Can we get the lights, please? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. The issue that came up was the discussion on whether or not also left turn in should be allowed as part of the Commission recommendation. There was some discussion, and the issue was if there's a vehicle here stopped to turn left into the driveway, and again concerning about the sight distance that is limited in this area. If another vehicle is coming, would they have adequate sight distance, adequate stopping distance to be able to stop behind the vehicle before this vehicle turns in? And the question became, if we restrict the left turns in, can we allow left turns at the Linda Vista Figueroa intersection? So basically tonight we're here to discuss whether or not we want to allow full access at this driveway. In other words, we already have agreed the Commission recommendation that we allow left turns out, whether or not we should allow left turns in. So staff was directed to come back with an analysis about whether or not a U-turn will be permitted here, and it's safe to make a U-turn here. So the next slide, what we did what we put a turning template for a standard vehicle for making U-turns. We did a turning template here. We also had our own staff with our vehicles attempted to make this U-turn to see how comfortable, how easy it is. Based on our turning template, a U-turn can be made, but it is very tight. In other words, if you try to align your vehicle straight as a normal person will do, drive through the intersection, try to do a U-turn, it is doable. You have to steer very hard to do the U-turn. What it could make it difficult is if there's a vehicle like the vehicle is standing here, stopped at the intersection. As you can see, if you follow the tracks for a U-turn, you may run into a stopped vehicle, so obviously you have to stop in the middle of an intersection, or potentially a vehicle has to do a three-point turn. The probability of this occurring, in other words, if somebody is making a U-turn at the same time as a vehicle stop here, or as a vehicle is going through, it's not that high because of the volumes of traffic is not that high at this location. By the same token, if we go back to the previous slide, that the probability of somebody stopped here to make a left turn, well, they have the right of way in this case, another vehicle coming behind them, and we did show the dimension here of about 14 feet, so this, in case a vehicle is coming, there's a possible to go around this vehicle. It is again tight, but if a car is in the movement of making that left turn, the chances of a vehicle have to completely stop abruptly is less. So, you know, both of these can occur at the same time. There is a probability it can occur. I mean, how often it will occur, it is something we can't tell you because the volumes are very, very low. At this point, we feel comfortable as your staff to say that we can allow the left turns here, given the fact that the U-turns here are tight and you're in the middle of an intersection. Obviously, again, I have to say that with a four-way stop, if it was not a four-way stop, this U-turn, we never would have said that would be okay. With a four-way stop, it is also possible. Also, it's possible if a vehicle is making, instead of a U-turn, they can turn left and go, there's another street down here, make it U-turn in that location and come back into the driveway. So those are all the options that are available. We feel at this point comfortable to allow the left turn in if we are also allowing the left turn out. Given the recommendations that we have in terms of all the signage that we want to do in order to really reduce the speed. The key is the approach speed. If we are achieving that speed reduction up to 25 miles an hour, most of these movements will be safer and easier than if the speeds were higher as they're approaching this location. So for that purpose, we prepared a motion that is in the staff report, attached to the staff report, that allows the full left turn, access inbound and outbound at the private driveway at 3612 Linda Vista Road to be granted or denied, obviously. You could, if we take out the left turn in, then we can modify the motion accordingly to make that. Or if you allow it, then we'll just allow full movement with this motion. So we prepared it. It can be modified during the commission meeting. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions to staff?
I have a couple.
Yes.
When I went and did a site visit, my first inclination was not to do a U-turn right in the middle of the intersection. I actually pulled up here onto Figueroa and then crossed over to get to the stop sign and then took a left there. That seemed to me the most logical thing to do if I was trying to do a U-turn in there.
Yeah.
Was that something that staff considered?
In terms of going over here and turning over this side, technically that's not allowed where you're making a U-turn, you're crossing a center line.
That's not allowed? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And again, as I said, it would be similar movement would be to go up, further up, and then turn around. And here we don't have where we have here, as we have a center line, that will not be permitted unless you're making a left turn into a driveway.
Okay.
Whereas what you were suggesting is to come in here and cross, basically go up here and then turn back into this left turn. Again, I won't say that this doesn't happen in residential areas where you even have a center line, a single or a double center line, but technically by vehicle code that would not be allowed to do that movement.
Okay. Don't turn me in, please.
That's right.
Okay, and I guess, my only concern again was on the left-hand turns into the driveway, was that when you have a car or two cars stacked up waiting to turn left, or one waiting to turn left and cars backed up behind it, that it really cuts down on that sight distance.
probability of having a vehicle, two vehicles, which I don't think the residents will have two vehicles turning. I mean, it's possible at the same time, because it's the only place they will go.
No, I just meant a car waiting behind.
Car waiting behind them and then another vehicle arriving.
Right.
So that cuts into that 250 feet of sight distance we have. It could make it a little tight. So one thing is we thought of doing it, obviously, if commission recommends it, council approves this change. We will monitor it. I think we have, I'll see if we have a time-lapse camera we can set there for a couple hours, or just look at it if it's an issue. As we've said, with any type of a movement, city reserves the right to make changes to that restriction. What we stated in the staff, whatever recommendation the commission makes in this regard, the city reserves its right to modify in its sole discretion the design of the street improvement on Linda Vista Road should conditions warrant such modifications. So if you wish to include that language as part of the motion, that can be included as well.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and move to public comments on this issue specifically. And the first card that I have, Mr. Demirjan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman Sahagian, staff, commissioners. It was a good comment that Mr. Welch came last hearing that, making in probably more dangerous than making the left turn out. I brought a picture, maybe it would help to understand what I'm saying. Actually, the sight vision, 260 feet. The point is from the driveway. Now, when you're across the street to make left in, you're actually wrapping to the other side of the curb, which your sight vision will increase, not decrease. If you look at the picture, this is the 260 sight vision that I see my car in there parked. And now if we're having vehicles across the street, you would see it further. Next thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, that yes, the sight vision is 260 feet. That is a straight line, the sight vision. In reality, the traveling, the stopping distance also increases. If you look at the picture again, it's the traveling lane that it's longer than a straight line. I mean, those are small issues, but yet it's all increases. The other thing that I just don't want to talk about again, that is, there are far dangerous driveways on my street itself. And 10 years of accident reports, there are no accidents. There are bicyclists on this curvy road. They're climbing the hill up to Glendale, and once they took the curve, of course there is a distance over 260 or over 280, they disappear. Now, we have no accidents. And right down below of my driveway, since this became a corridor of Linda Vista, that means it's been studied. Right after, if you're traveling from Pasadena to Glendale, you pass my house, you pass across the street there. First curb, there are a bunch of homes. You know what's the sight vision that they have? I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes. Of course, the first house, 30 feet, 40 feet, there are no accidents. The second house, maybe 80 feet, 100 feet. So also maneuvering, DMV permits you at 200 feet sight vision. Caltrans 150 feet with 25 miles per hour. First chart 201.1. That's the minimum. But I have minimum A single-family dwelling's driveway is minimum. You can't take that driveway and say that is a highway. I don't know, my time is up, but there are probably a lot more issues that are important.
I'll give you 1 more minute.
Thank you. You know who travels fast in there? Is the people that are familiar with the area. If someone is a stranger passing through where you have a blind curve, you don't see the other side, you don't drive fast. The people are familiar, as you said, Mr. Welch, commuters drive fast. Once you set these things, they're not going to drive fast anymore. Even though the way they drove, we have no accidents. Bicyclists survived. So, I don't know. It's either we're trying to do this driveway the safest driveway in Glendale, or we're trying to say this is the worst driveway in Glendale. Well, either way is not. It's very much standard driveway. So, you know, like I said, there are streets in Glendale that don't have this sight vision. So please, let's be fair with this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? There are no questions. Next speaker is Hasmik Demircan.
Good evening, Chairman Sahakian, members of Commission, staff. My name is Hasmik Demircan. Eric is just handing you, it's a general work order traffic control device from City of Pasadena. The signs has been ordered already. They are installing 3 signs. One of them is, curve warning signs, and also they are installing 20 miles per hour advisory signs, and also arrows. So there are 3 signs that's been ordered. They're trying to accommodate the City of Glendale, and I had no problem with them. They are cooperating, and to have the traffic bring it down to 20 miles per hour in Pasadena. Right, it's very close to Glendale. And again, I appreciate, I'd like to thank all the commissioners and the chairman and the staff for this special meeting, and, and taking this matter very seriously. And I apologize, sometimes we are angry and frustrated, but you have to understand that we feel like we are in jail over there. It's been over a year and a half. I think we have suffered enough. It's time to remove all the delineators, the signagers, and allow us in and out of the driveway. We would like to be treated just like any other resident in the City of Glendale. We don't want to be singled out. And let us have our quiet enjoyment of our home, and let us go on with our life, and let the city go on with their problems. And again, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barry Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the Commission staff, of course, the public. I'm Barry Allen. I think the time has come to say, let's allow them to turn in left, turn out left. We don't want to continue this perception that we have a nanny state that is going to do everything it can to prevent us from injuring ourselves. And, we're going to have to put barriers up and one-way streets, and it's not going to happen. The fact is that trucks drove in and out of that property without traffic guards to allow them in and out. There were no problems. The information I brought at the last meeting showed there have been no accidents and no problems in that area for at least 5 years. And I think that we have to rely on drivers to know when to stop when to signal, and do all those things. I live on Chevy Chase, and I have a very blind driveway. And when I turn left, I said, oh my gosh, should I turn my turn signal on? Uh-huh. And should I turn left after the traffic is cleared? Yeah. And there's no signs there telling me to do that. I do it because that's what we do. That's why we have driver's ed. That's why we spend all the time, and that's why we pay insurance. And if we're good drivers, we have cheaper insurance premiums. And I think that we need to say, use your house, use your driveway, use your property, turn left in, turn left out, and I'm certain that this commission will go ahead and pass that word on with your motion to the City Council. Thank you. I'm Barry Allen.
Next speaker, Mr. Rafik Krikorian.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing today? Listen, Mr. Welch, I appreciate what a safety-minded person you are. It's great, but sometimes there's too much of a good thing. You can't guarantee a situation where you can 100% be certain, 100% certain that accidents cannot occur. I think you asked the question last time, what if somebody's coming at this speed? What if somebody's approaching at that speed? You post a speed limit. The speed limit says 25, and the what if is up to that driver, to that particular driver. If that driver could be going 100 miles an hour, and it's going to cause an accident. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. But that doesn't mean you disallow me. You block me from enjoying my property and approaching my property. Wherever you live, someone could be driving 120 miles an hour in front of your house. What should we do about that? There's a limit. I appreciate it. It's great. You want to be safe. We all want to be safe, but it has to be reasonable. So we need to be realistic. So when you're testing these gentlemen here, these gentlemen get nervous very quickly. They hate liability, but let's be responsible. And it's time. The time has come to get rid of this. This is nonsense. By the way, this 260 visual, and even if cars are queued, like my brother said, there'd be even more visual distance. There are homes, thousands of homes in Glendale, with half the distance, visual distance, and they have even less advantage. My brother is pulling out. He's driving out forward. There are cars backing out of driveways with less distance, backing out. We don't block them. We don't put islands and cones, and we don't harass them, right? It's time to let this go. Thank you very much.
I don't have any more cards, so I'm going to close the public comments for this item. And any comments from the commissioners at this point before we vote?
Well, I'm basically taking my cue from staff here, and if staff feels that their comfort level is such that they are willing to recommend inbound and outbound left turns, I would be willing to support that. I would also like to include the caveat that Mr. Bogdanian mentioned about reserving the right in the future if there are any issues or incidents, or possibly, studying. I think you mentioned time-lapse camera.
It's one thing we'll monitor it if it's necessary. We can go to that. I mean, we do have the capabilities doing that.
That's given. It doesn't
it's a given. We don't have to include it in here.
And I would be willing to support your recommendation in that case.
I'll move the motion.
Okay, and that's my position. One comment I want to make, though, is that I'm sure the commissioner's concern regarding the risk was not only for the public and liability to the city. If it was also the safety of the residents that live at that address. So it's not fair to say that you're afraid from liability only. All of us here are sitting on this commission to make the best recommendation. We don't make decisions necessarily. Council takes the last action on these items. But we're here to make the city safer. We're here to make sound judgments. And of course, at the last meeting, when I saw that, and I knew that the U-turn was actually more dangerous than the left turn into the driveway. That was my position on it, and that's why I asked staff to look into it. And sure enough, that was the staff's finding. We have a first, we have a second, and I think, yes?
I'll second. I didn't hear a second.
Okay, I didn't hear it either. That's my position also. Let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Mehrabian?
Yes.
Commissioner Weissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Welch?
Yes.
Chairperson Zahaki?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for being patient.
And congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, staff, for
Thank you very much.
immediately jumping on this item, and hopefully it'll get scheduled.
Mr. Chairman, we will do our best to schedule this for the city council meeting as soon as possible, so
Thank you. With
we'll let
that,
the resident know.
okay. There are no more comments, then next item, please, which is adjournment.